Bailey, other than flying, what's the one other activity that I'm absolutely terrified of that you are most definitely not?
That's kind of a hard one because you're literally afraid of everything. Let me think back. Is it being on the ocean in the middle of the water on a boat?
I mean, that's correct, but that's not what we're talking about. I'll give you one more guess.
Is it being in a nuclear fallout site?
You're not afraid of that?
Oh, I guess I am kind of afraid of that.
All right, too many guesses. That's right. It's roller coasters. I really, when I wrote this, had more faith in your ability to guess what I was talking about.
You really underestimated just how many things you are scared of, though. I mean, really, it's really hard to pin down.
Okay, anyways. The same gravity-defying stunts that you love honestly make me want to vom. Aside from the intended stomach in your chest feeling that's supposed to happen on a roller coaster, there's that special little added thrill of never knowing if the underpaid high schooler operating your ride ensured that everything was in order before pressing that magical red button that sends you careening down a rickety track at breakneck speeds.
You apologize to that high schooler. They are absolutely not it. By the time that roller coaster is manufactured, that high schooler doesn't do anything.
I know.
You apologize.
I will not. Okay, let's get into it.
I think I know where this is going.
Oh, it's a disaster.
I'm so intrigued.
Just wait, it gets worse.
We are just the masters of disasters, aren't we?
Calamity Janes. Welcome to Calamity Janes, the weekly disaster podcast where two anything but plain Janes talk about mayhem and disaster and calamity. Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, but who are we?
Crap.
You almost had it.
I'm Madison.
And I'm Bailey.
Okay. So this week is going to be a little bit different. In lieu of our typical format, I'm going to be briefly covering several theme park disasters.
Ooh, a montage.
Yes.
Or a patchwork.
Yes.
Collage of disaster.
Exactly. Beautiful mayhem. So buckle up, sit back, and enjoy the ride.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay, good. Okay, so first, let's talk about the home of America's roller coasters, Anaheim, California.
Why is that the home?
I don't know. Disney.
But, okay, sure.
Uh,
Even though wasn't the first roller coaster at the World's Fair in Chicago?
I don't even. Okay. All right. Moving on. Cut that.
No, I'm not cutting it. It's a fun fact.
In September of 2003 let me start over. This is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in Anaheim, California.
Ooh.
In September of 2003 at 11:20 a.m., the lead car, decorated to resemble a red locomotive engine, how fun, and the open-top passenger cars following it made their way uphill into a tunnel where the open-top cars separated and the locomotive derailed. The locomotive car hit the tunnel roof, and the first passenger car, which again was open on top, ran underneath it while it was airborne, being pinned underneath it as it came crashing back down.
So hold up.
Yeah.
You're at the top of a hill. So this isn't like the first hill where they like slowly crank you up and you're like, oh my God.
No, you've got
when will
speed
this
going.
end? Okay, and it went too fast is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, too fast, derailed, hit the top.
Jump the tracks.
Yeah,
okay.
and it was just a decorated car. There was no one sitting in it. It was just the lead car.
The first one, because it's like the choo-choo. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The chugga-chugga.
Chugga. Okay.
And then the car filled with passengers right behind it went underneath it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Moments later, riders stumbled out of the tunnel and ran for help. Several passengers were trapped in the cars for hours before firefighters and paramedics could get to them. 22-year-old Marcelo Torres was in the front car, and he lost his life.
Oh.
Yeah. Disney.
How big are these cars? Do we know? Like, is it one car hold two people? I'm envisioning my local Six Flags Over Texas.
Not the questions you are going to be asking today.
Oh, 1,000 apologies. Noted. Revising.
Review your expectations.
Revising my impromptu questions that I had planned.
Do not ask those sorts of questions today.
Copy that.
Disney officials stated that the accident was caused by incorrectly performed maintenance tasks required by Disneyland policy and procedures that resulted in a mechanical failure. So they ultimately said it started making funny noises when they started up the ride and they didn't do anything. And so now their policy is basically, if you hear anything weird, stop the ride. That's our solution to this.
I mean, I feel like that should be intuitive in general.
You would think so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it like they have engineers there, right? It's not like the same person who presses the button. They put their hand up and they're like, go, and they press the button and everyone flies out. That's not the same person who is like going and looking under the hood and fixing things, right?
Oh, I have no idea.
Sorry, also not a question I will ask in the future.
I mean, but I wouldn't have known that. Even if I had researched this well, I don't think I would have looked into that very much. I mean, I have to assume that, especially a place like Disneyland, they do have people who are actually trained to mess with the rides.
I would think so too. I really don't want you to start blaming poor high schoolers again.
Okay, I'm not blaming them for... Okay, you're never going to let that go.
Never.
I would first and foremost like to, 95% of the time, I will place blame on the people who are in charge of inspecting and maintaining the rides, not the poor high schoolers.
Glad we have established that.
Yes, I am not hating on the high schoolers. And I can tell you for a fact, there are very few of them listening because I see the demographics for our podcast. I know there are almost none of them.
Well, I'll tell you what, they'll never listen if they know that you're just over here pooping on all of them.
Okay, listen, I was a dumb high schooler once too. And while they were being the cool kids working at the theme parks, you know what job I had in high school?
Sweet and sassy.
Yeah, I had to wear a tutu and dance for children's parties. It was...
I think that's a pretty neat job, honestly. Got to put glitter.
Yeah,
play
it was
makeup.
actually super fun a lot of the time.
Yeah, see?
Okay, next up, we have Thunder River Rapids in Queensland, Australia.
Oh.
In October of 2016, 4 people were killed when 2 rafts, one occupied and one unoccupied, collided on the Thunder River Rapids and flipped backwards. Miraculously, of the 6 people in the occupied raft, the 2 children aboard were able to escape unscathed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good.
One of the ride's large water pumps failed, and the water level in the ride quickly dropped, causing the occupied raft to become stranded on support rails near the end of the raft's conveyor belt. So as it's getting started, there's a conveyor belt just underneath the water that you can't really see. So you have the illusion of being carried down the waterway.
The river.
Yeah. So about a minute after that happened, the occupied raft moved down the belt and collided with the first raft, tilting the second raft into a vertical position and causing the passengers to either fall out or to become trapped next to the conveyor belt.
That sounds dangerous and mechanical.
Yes. Sounds fatal and gruesome.
No.
Yeah, we don't do gore on this podcast, so I didn't look into it at all, but I heard it was horrible.
Yeah, I can imagine, but I won't.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ride was closed down permanently, and the park was temporarily closed out of respect for the victims and their families. Apparently shockingly, the ride had endured frequent breakdowns in the day before the accident.
Great.
Yeah. No one else really said exactly what caused it, other than the fact that it just happened and it had problems before.
I will say I do not like water rides. I love
Really?
theme parks and I love roller coasters. I don't want to be on a log flume. I don't want to be in one of those like river rapid round tubey things. I think there was and maybe this is because first of all, I don't want to be wet walking around a theme park. You're wearing shorts, you're hot, the water, it's Chafe City. No, thank you. Second of all, I think when I was really little, I heard a story about one of those large inner tubes flipping, like it went onto a jet and the jet flipped it over. And so I think from as a kid, I was scarred by that. And so, that is the one thing at a theme park you will not catch me on. Don't like it.
I get that. I understand. See, I've spent next to no time in theme parks, but whenever I think about theme parks, I'm typically more drawn to the water rides because they're less extreme.
Yeah. But you're not on a track. I mean, even if you are like technically being pulled or pushed along a track, you're not affixed to a track.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why I don't like them, because you're just floating willy-nilly in nasty water. That's reason number 554 that I don't. Okay.
Yeah, so awful. Just terrible. I mean, even the last time I went to go visit our father, we went to the Whitewater Center. Yeah,
in North Carolina. So much fun.
So much fun. Highly recommend. But and you definitely assume a certain level of risk doing something like that, as opposed to sitting in a ride at a theme park like this. It's totally different. But this is obviously something that thousands and thousands of people go to every year and are totally cool with. But even when we did that, they give you this long tutorial. It's not super challenging, but it's really fun. And went out there, and our dad fell out of the raft and broke his thumb trying to get back out, lost his helmet, and it was...
And he had actually done rafting
it more
before.
than any of us.
Not just there, but had actually been real whitewater rafting.
Yeah. But it just goes to show, you can have it down to a science, or you can have such a teeny tiny margin of error, and things still happen. So
nothing's impossible.
Nothing. Okay. What was
I'm liking these.
Oh, you are? Okay, good. I'm glad.
I am. Yeah.
You'll like this one. Okay, well, sorry, that's going to sound weird. The Texas Giant in Arlington.
Ooh, okay. I haven't heard anything about that. I have another one from Six Flags in case you don't cover it, but I have not heard one with the Texas Giant.
In July of 2013, 52-year-old Rosa Ayala Goana was thrown from her third row seat on the massive roller coaster.
Really?
She fell 75 feet and struck a metal support beam before coming to rest on the metal roof of a tunnel.
No. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Poor woman.
They theorized that she was not able to properly fit into her seat. And so she was... a little heavier, and they don't think that she was secure enough. So they installed she passed away, obviously.
Yes.
So they installed new bar pads and seat belts, and that was basically it. I mean, which sounds good. I mean, those sound like valuable additions to make, but they also said she shouldn't have been allowed on the ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because every time in that ride specifically, feels very secure now, by the way. I've been on it recently. And it's the one that goes over your chest.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I ever went on it, I think it was just a lap bar. And I remember thinking, no thank you.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Adequate.
Yeah.
No. They've also redone the track. The first time I went on it, I was like, I will never do it again. It was a true wooden roller coaster and so rickety. It was painfully bumpy. But they have since put new steel rails on it, and it is like butter. But back to the original thought that started this all. Normally when they check your restraints. They are supposed to pull really hard on those things to make sure that they don't come off. So
that did not happen. Yeah. So it's horrible. It's awful.
Awful.
Yeah. And with any of these, the other horrible thing about it is that a theme park is a crowded place. There are obviously other people on the rides. It's obviously horrible for the person that it happens to. And then everyone else there sees it too. Yeah,
it is traumatic and scarring for everyone involved.
Next up, we have Wild Wonder in Ocean City, New Jersey. Oh, gosh.
Huh.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Well, I tried to pick ones that, honestly, when I hear about theme park rides, they all start to blend together after a while, unless something really crazy happens. So a lot of these I'd kind of maybe heard about before, but I tried to pick ones that would be a little new. Okay, so in August of 1999, as the passenger's car was being pulled up the track of the Wild Wonders ride in Ocean City, New Jersey, the drag chain released the cars prematurely, sending them careening backwards.
Oh, that's a new fear I didn't have before. Okay.
The anti-rollback emergency brake also malfunctioned, so
Of course
are
it did.
two fail-safes. So the car just kept going. Although it managed to stay firmly on the tracks, as it flew backward down the track, it slammed into a car full of passengers waiting to begin their turn on the death trap,
Oh, okay.
ultimately killing a mother and her child and injuring two more. That ride was dismantled, thankfully.
Yeah, I don't. When both of your fail safes fail, not good.
The exact same thing happened in 1997, so 2 years earlier, at the Wildcat at Bell's Amusement Park in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
So not the same park. That's okay.
Yeah. The car was pulled to the highest point on the track when it slid backwards and collided with another car. That time, 1 boy died and 6 more were injured.
It is shocking to me that more people aren't affected by that, just because of the weight and therefore momentum that a car like that has careening backwards.
Yeah.
I guess the force gets distributed to the furthermost cars, so like those people, I guess, are relatively unaffected, and it's just the two at the meeting point that.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible. In that time, the amusement park was doing a 25-cent ride promotion to celebrate opening season, so there were a lot of witnesses.
And a packed car. I mean, packed cars.
People said that ride had been rickety for a while, so that's good to know. It was later dismantled, but relocated to an amusement park in Maryland and is now called the Avalanche.
Make notes, people.
Yeah.
Take notes. The Avalanche is a no-go.
Learn from us.
Yes.
What's your Six Flags one?
This is coming straight from a news article. I will link to this in the show notes. This is at Six Flags Over Texas, local here in Dallas. Well, technically Arlington, like Madison said in a previous story. One of my favorite theme parks ever. I love this theme park. But there is a ride called the Batman, and it is where a rider's feet dangle. Instead of the track being underneath you, the track is over top of you. A 17-year-old from Columbia, South Carolina, lost a hat that he lost while riding the ride. To retrieve the hat, he hopped 2 6-foot fences and passed signs that stated the area was restricted. And unfortunately, it was restricted because that is where the coaster went right through, and he was decapitated. So, please stay out of restricted areas. If you lose your phone, hats, sunglasses, contact an official in the ride. Please do not hop over fences and stuff to go get them.
And I bet the person who, obviously with no control over the situation, who made contact with his head, I'm sure they were also very injured as
Certainly. Traumatized, injured, everyone in the car. It's just, oh my goodness.
So horrible. Yeah.
It is.
It's also, don't take out your cell phone when you're on a roller coaster. You're just asking for it to be blown away or dropped, or just don't do it.
Sometimes when I see those, confession, I like watching YouTube videos
Sure.
where they take you through the roller coaster.
Yeah.
And luckily now there are GoPros with harnesses that you can attach to
put
your
a
face
GoPro
or
on
your
your
chest
chest.
or whatever. But back then you didn't have them. So it was like if you wanted to document those things, and not that he lost his phone, but you get what I'm saying. Like having a loose phone. Sometimes when I watch those videos, I think, if they're filming with their phone, please don't drop it. Please don't drop it. And then if you drop it, if it lands on someone, it's also dangerous.
Yeah,
Just
that's also
keep
horrible.
use the cubbies in the park. Put your things in the cubbies. Please stay safe. That poor boy. Just please stay safe.
Yeah. Fun fact about chest-mounted GoPros. That
took a turn.
At some point when I was visiting our dad in South Carolina, we always go kayaking in the estuaries, and when there are lots of dolphins in those areas, which is so cool. So when GoPros became super popular for the average Joe to have, my dad got one and then got a chest harness for it so we could put it over our life jackets. He gave it to me, and so the entire 3-hour kayaking tour, he put it on my life jacket, turned it on, checked it over, made sure it wasn't going to wiggle too much, and sent me on my way. And the whole 3-hour tour, he was constantly making me just row all over the place, trying to get these pictures, point in the right direction. It was not the fun, meandering little adventure we typically have. And then we got back and he had forgotten to turn it on.
You are just telling on Dad all over this episode.
I'll never forget it. It was exhausting. It was so tiring. Okay.
But it's super funny to think about you just having to row all over.
Yes, and in those big chunky life vests, as important as they are not easy to just twist in when you're in a kayak. And so I had to
That is true.
rotate.
I can see you guys trying to do a full body turn with the with the camera. And you also have the oars. Oh,
and those
man.
are ocean kayaks too. They're very long. They're not easy to
Yeah.
turn in a circle quickly.
They're cumbersome. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, my rant is done. I'm sorry. Okay. Now, the Sand Blaster in Daytona Beach, Florida. Kind of surprised it took us this long to get to Florida.
Very surprised, actually, because if you were to tell me anywhere was the theme park or the roller coaster capital of the world, I actually would have guessed Florida.
That's a good guess. I mean, when I said that about Anaheim, that was not...
You made it up.
Yeah.
That's not a fact.
No,
You shared a lie. Misinformation.
I'm so sorry.
Our listeners will carry that with them. Sharing
It's
false
just-
facts.
It's just a risk I have to take. Do you want drama? Do you want the spice of life in the podcast?
Sensationalism.
Because that's what I'm here for. Okay, in June of 2018, a car derailed on the Sand Blaster ride at the Daytona Beach Boardwalk. 2 riders plunged 34 feet to the ground, and 2 were left trapped in one of the ride's dangling cars. Just vertical, completely vertical.
Not upside down, vertical? Vertical forward, vertical backward.
I think vertical forward. Why did you immediately think backwards?
Because I think this happened at the Freeze again at Six Flags Over Texas.
Stop going to Six Flags Over Texas.
Never. I love Batman. I love Mr. Freeze. The only thing that at this point now, hearing these horror stories, that is giving me any sort of comfort is knowing that statistically speaking, I will not be the one involved in any of these accidents.
That's very true.
There's so many risks in life. It's like a plane crash, they happen. Your chances are not zero.
That's true.
But so many people fly, so many planes
Yes.
successfully make their treks through the sky that you have to just know they are fewer and farther in between than they have ever been.
Yep, that is a very good point. The ride had apparently passed inspection that morning, but when inspected after the incident, it magically failed because of structural integrity. So I have a feeling that inspection in the morning was not very thorough.
Magically failed?
I was more so alluding to the fact that their inspection in the morning was poo-poo.
Was faulty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Investigators found evidence of operator error and excessive speed. They also found rust and chipped paint along the track. And here's the real kicker. There were videos taken earlier that showed the coaster nearly derailing.
There's video of this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look into it. I didn't find them, but they found videos. I don't know if they were just taken by people in the park or if they were taken as part of an inspection or something, but they did have video evidence that the coaster almost derailed several times.
Yeah, something tells me that wasn't a surprise failed inspection. Well, I guess it didn't fail inspection, but...
Yeah. So that one's not in operation anymore, so that's nice. Okay, so lastly, and in all fairness, here's one that was completely passenger error. Since you're giving me such a hard time about the operators, what's that look on your face?
I'm trying to find the Mr. Freeze disaster.
Okay, so the ride, which is just called roller coaster, you have to take a break.
Really?
You have to focus on what I'm saying.
I am. Well, I'm half listening, which is why when you said it's just called a roller coaster.
Yep, sometimes
That's what that
called
reaction was for.
white roller coaster.
I'm assuming because it is white. How unoriginal is that?
It's not even white. It's in Farmington, Utah, and I think it's snowy there, so maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe it was built by someone with the last name White. Maybe it was white at some point. Who knows? When you see pictures of it now, it's a wooden roller coaster. It's brown.
Apparently, they had to rebrand because so it's just roller coaster.
It's
because
just roller
white
coaster.
roller coaster was what did it in?
Yep. The wooden coaster was built in 1921, which was also when people started doing stupid things on it. In 1934,
I thought you were going to say when people start doing stupid things, and I was like, I think we can safely say that is not when people started doing stupid things.
No. In 1934, a 20-year-old man died after he fell while attempting to stand up on the coaster. In 1989, a 13-year-old girl did the exact same thing and also lost her life.
I don't understand.
Why
I don't understand the reasoning. That doesn't even sound fun. It doesn't even be like, like a fun challenge. It doesn't sound.
No.
No.
And in 1946, a maintenance worker was killed after being struck by the coaster while working on scaffolding nearby. He was just doing his
1946.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an old.
I told you it
gentleman
was
coaster
built in 21. Because you were half listening to me. You were trying to find your own theme park disaster. I told you, Bailey, I told you to listen to me.
It was the one detail I missed. Other people might have missed it too. Aren't you so glad that I reiterated that this roller coaster was built in 21? How fascinating. Thank you, Bailey. You're welcome.
You were lucky.
Love me.
I love you. You were so lucky. Okay. Anywho, yes, in 1946, a maintenance worker lost his life. He was just doing his job, but I have to assume that there was fault there in someone who was not the roller coaster.
Yeah, one of those things where it's like strict or even moderate regulations in how and when to repair roller coasters hadn't been creative. Likely more like a worker's
Like
work
an
conditions.
OSHA situation?
Yes,
Yeah.
It sounds like an OSHA situation.
Yeah. So interesting that you bring that up. Kind of segues into our final discussion on the topic.
Okay.
Part of the reason there are so many issues with theme parks is that there's no federal regulation of them. It's left entirely to the states.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It was.
I guess that kind of makes sense.
Why? Why does that make sense to you?
I don't know. It just seems like something that the federal government would be like, we're going to let you manage your theme parks and like call it good. Although in reality, safety is safe everywhere, not just in Florida or in Texas.
Yeah. Well, Florida and Texas have different definitions of safe than other places too.
Florida and Texas have different definitions of so many things.
Yes.
Than everybody else in the United States / world.
Yeah. So there were, I think it was by Consumer Protection Services that did at one point regulate theme parks. But then there were budgetary cuts and that stopped in the 80s. So, for example, in Kansas, where I worked for the government, the Department of Labor oversees regulation of amusement parks.
Huh.
Yeah. And so it's different in every state.
That is interesting because it seems like some departments would be better prepared to.
Sometimes the Department of Agriculture is in charge of amusement parks.
And that makes no sense.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. Fun fact, Kansas also only requires amusement parks to be inspected once a year by a qualified inspector that the amusement park gets to pick.
Mental note, will not be going to amusement parks in Kansas.
Yeah.
No offense, Kansas. I just don't trust you.
No, big offense, Kansas. They had to, well, I think it was in 2016 or 2017. I'm sure you remember this. I think it was a House member's son was.
Yes. Yeah.
Gravely injured.
Yeah.
On the world's tallest water slide at, I think it was Oceans of Fun. And, yeah, so horrible, awful thing that happened. And that prompted reform and a push for more regulation.
Okay. I wish it were federally regulated now.
I mean, I'm not saying that would solve all of our problems, but I think just
some sort of uniformity.
Yeah, uniformity is important. Well, because then you have other issues with like traveling theme parks, carnivals.
Which I cannot. Nope, I can't do.
Oh, that's where you draw the line, or carnivals?
That's where I draw the line.
Really?
Yeah. I used to, like, as a kid, love them, and I don't know what turned me off of them. Maybe it was Mom.
Because
It
I
did
remember
not surprise
Mom
me.
telling me that you could take me to the South Dakota State Fair. No, I think it was the county fair, but you weren't going to. I wasn't allowed to ride any rides. I think she said she couldn't stop you from doing it, but I was precious enough.
Yeah. Which, to me, state fair rides are very different than the traveling fair rides. Like, because most state fairs are up for, like, 2 weeks min, basically a month max. Like, to me, those maybe not accurately so in my mind are, like, somehow better constructed for some long-term use, maybe inspected more regular. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
But the stuff, probably definitely wrong. But the stuff, the ones that get set up in parking lots, it's like, oh, what if they forgot a bolt in Iowa, or forgot that they put that wrench in that gear in the fun house, and I can't.
Yeah.
Did you see, there's a video going on social media of a spinny guy at one of those carnival things that, like, it wasn't secured to the ground, and it's about to tip over until
All
people
those
start
people
running up to it and grab onto the railing. And I thought, I don't know if I'd be one of those people. I mean, thank goodness they did. However, you are definitely putting yourself in danger. Like, what if you overcorrect and it falls on top of you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're very brave people. Very brave people.
Yeah. I think that's part of what makes them so heroic, is that you are risking your life.
You absolutely are.
To at least try to help.
Yeah.
You are so out of breath.
I am so out of breath. This topic, now the more we talk about it, makes me nervous. This baby is taking my breath away, not in a cute way, in like a just sucking the life out of me kind of way.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on blast or anything, but
thank you. Thanks.
I felt better.
My heavy breathing.
Because when I get excited about a topic, I also get really out of breath, and so that happens to me all the time, especially when I think I'm being funny. I get really out of breath. So I'm happy that it's happening to you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think.
Yeah. So that's what I have. I also want to give a small shout out to my friend Megan, who inspired this topic, because she told me it was one of her life dreams to not be like injured or anything in a theme park disaster, but to be on a ride that got stuck, and she got to like walk off on the side and go see the control panel in the back or something on her way out. And I just thought that made her such a wonderful person. And so that's what made me think of this.
You go, Megan. Thank you, Megan, for the suggestion.
Woohoo! Friend of the pod.
Yes, thank you, Megan. Friend of the pod.
Of the pod. Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh, God.
You started it.
I know.
If you don't want to hear my melodic whale sounds, don't call to me.
Okay. Well, Bailey, tell them what's going to happen next couple of weeks.
Ooh, so next couple of weeks, here's the sitch. Madison is coming down to Texas, doing a little road trip, bringing my niece, the Bonster. And so we are going to go on a brief 2-week hiatus. We apologize. It's our first hiatus ever on this podcast, so we hope that you are not too saddened by it. But if you are, if you need more, this is our 19th episode, which means we have 18 others that you can listen to. So be sure and go check those out. Re-listen to some of your favorites.
Listen with a friend. Then you can talk about it.
Listen with a friend. Yes, great pedicure fodder, great lunchtime coffee date fodder.
It will be excellent. If you need more daily disaster content, just send us an email. I'll let you know how my road trip with my 9-month-old is going.
Great point, Moo. Great point.
It'll be great. She's teething. It's wonderful.
We should share personal disaster, like little personal disasters each week.
Oh, go ahead. Tell me. What's yours?
No, I don't have one. I wasn't prepared. Please don't put me on the spot. I'm just saying, in general, we could prepare ahead of time. Quick little personal disasters.
Yeah, I have daily doses of that with babies. It's great.
I do not. I mean, I guess I will soon, potentially. But
yeah, the blowouts are so much fun.
Woo. Yay. me.
Anyways, it's been a great day. Been a great sesh. Thanks for listening.
Lovely sesh. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen. Please subscribe, rate us whatever platform you listen to us on. Just give us a little rate so that other people know that we're a halfway decent podcast. Might not be the best, but we're certainly not the absolute worst.
We're at least 3/4 decent.
Yeah, and that's passing in most academic criteria.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
So, yeah. Thanks for listening. We will be back soon. Thank you still for your emails. I promise I've actually started researching some of them. They will happen. Hey, I'm making it work.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks. She's doing it.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.